Right? Right. So here's the problem here. It's like, where's the CNN? CNN here? Is CNN here? Anybody want to own up to that? Here's the problem.
Hero.
Who's this? Come on.
Bro, you're already facing charges.
Yeah, I get it.
Go ahead and commit another crime.
So,
I've been sitting here this whole time. Situational.
Yes, okay.
Why?
Was Trump advisor Peter Navarro getting trolled outside of a courthouse, and the dude deserved it. But that's the least of his problems, because Peter Navarro is now going to prison. Let's discuss. I'm Dave Aronberg, state attorney for Palm Beach County, a.k.a. the Florida lawman here on the MeidasTouch network. So let's discuss Peter Navarro, probably one of, if not the most insufferable Trump sycophants out there. The guy was a trade advisor and then tried to help organize the attempted insurrection through something he labeled the Green Bay Sweep. It's a football term, and he thought perhaps putting some cutesy football name on it would make it less offensive. Not so. So he was called before the January 6th committee to talk about what he knew. He and Steve Bannon were both subpoenaed, not only for their testimony, but also for their documents. And what happened? He, like Steve Bannon, ghosted the committee. Didn't show, didn't produce documents, claimed he had executive privilege, even though even Trump didn't claim executive privilege for Navarro. And just like Steve Bannon, he had a trial. And like Steve Bannon, he lost. He lost back in September, found guilty, and was sentenced to prison for 4 months. The reason why Peter Navarro, like Steve Bannon, was sentenced to prison was not because of their actions to facilitate the attempted insurrection, but was his refusal to appear before the January 6th committee, Contempt of Congress. And so what happens is the congressional committee votes to hold you in contempt. Then it goes to the full House, and the full House, which at that point was controlled by the Democrats, voted to send the matter to the Attorney General to prosecute the case. Then it's up to the DOJ and the AG to decide whether or not to prosecute. Now, when it came to Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro, Attorney General Merrick Garland said, yes, we will prosecute them. When it came to two others, Mark Meadows and Dan Scavino, two other top Trump aides, DOJ passed. For whatever reason, we don't exactly know. But for Navarro and for Bannon, the bell tolled for thee. And so they went to trial. They both lost. Now, what is also interesting is not just that Navarro was convicted and sentenced, but he is trying and has been trying to stay out of prison, trying to appeal it, trying to say, hey, at least stay my prison sentence, like the judge did for Steve Bannon, because Steve Bannon's not in prison right now, even though he also was found guilty, sentenced to months in prison. But the judge in the Peter Navarro case said, nah, you have no real chance of winning on appeal. You don't have any real good legal arguments. And so go straight to jail. Now, it's not really straight to jail because he will get one last chance to appeal to the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. You know, the one that just ruled overwhelmingly against Trump's claim of absolute immunity. Yeah. So don't expect him to have his sentence overturned. He is going to prison. It's just a question of when, and unless there is a decision by the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals to stay the prison sentence really soon, he's going to have to report to the Bureau of Prisons and get locked up. And really, of all the people around Trump, Peter Navarro is definitely one of the worst because he is one of the most arrogant and insufferable. I mean, this guy was so proud of his role in planning the attempted insurrection that he would go on national TV and talk about this Green Bay sweep. You know, he would say that this was a plan to convince the supporters of Trump in Congress from the 6 swing states that Biden won. Noticeably, not North Carolina, where Trump won by 1%. No, that election was fine, but all the other swing states that Biden won, and he'd get them to claim fraud, and then it would throw the election to the House, and then the House would then vote to elect Donald Trump. Talk about an attempted coup, yeah, that's it. Because there were no legitimate claims of voter fraud. So this whole plan was just a fraud on the public.
The plan was simply this. We had over 100 congressmen and senators on Capitol Hill ready to implement the sweep. The sweep was simply that. We were going to challenge the results of the election in the 6 battleground states. They were Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Wisconsin, Nevada. And basically, these were the places where we believed that if the votes were sent back to those battleground states and looked at again, that there would be enough concern amongst the legislatures that most or all of those states would decertify the election. That would throw the election to the House of Representatives. And I would say to you here, Ari, that all of this, again, it was in the lanes legally. It was prescribed by the Constitution. There is a provision to go, rather than through the Electoral College, to the House of Representatives. And all this required was peace and calm on Capitol Hill.
Although he has not been charged yet for the attempted insurrection, perhaps that day is coming. But in the meantime, he's facing jail time for something else, for being a jerk to Congress for contempt. But he appeared on national TV to brag about what he did. He thought what he did was legal, apparently, which was crazy. It shows you what's going through this guy's mind, that he thought he was a patriot when in reality he's an insurrectionist. So look at this appearance he had on Ari Melber's show.
The remedy was for Vice President Pence, as the quarterback in the Green Bay sweep, to remand those votes back to the 6 battleground states.
Do you realize you are describing a coup?
No.
Kudos to Melber. He responded in the best way possible. It sounds like a coup. Yeah, sure does. Well, now Navarro is reduced to trying to plead for a stay of his sentence, and he's trying to be like Steve Bannon. And what is the difference between his case and Steve Bannon's case? Perhaps the biggest difference is they had 2 different judges. Steve Bannon's judge, Judge Nichols, was appointed by Donald Trump, and he thought that Bannon could have a shot on his advice of counsel defense. So he allowed him to stay free while he's appealing that issue to the courts. He's not going to win on that issue, and yet he's able to stay free, even though he was sentenced back in October of 2022. So yeah, I know a lot of us are frustrated by that. But still, Bannon stays free, and his hope is that he'll stay free until past the 2024 election, when Donald Trump will pardon him again, because he's already pardoned him, remember, for the We Build the Wall charity scam. So that's Bannon. Now, meanwhile, Peter Navarro didn't get pardoned, didn't get a stay. He had a different judge, Judge Amit Mehta, a very well-respected judge in the D.C. Circuit, who was appointed by Barack Obama. So I've been saying here on the MeidasTouch Network that the year 2024 is the year of accountability. I still believe that. I still believe that Donald Trump will go to trial in Washington, D.C. I think it's also very likely he goes to trial in New York on the Stormy Daniels hush money payments. But don't forget about his cohorts, the ones who were indicted along with him in Fulton County, the unindicted co-conspirators in Washington, D.C. And then you have cases like this, where Peter Navarro is going to prison. And yes, Steve Bannon, I believe, will end up getting his appeals denied and will go to prison for his 4-month sentence too. So don't get demoralized. Don't let them beat you down by thinking that there is no equal justice under the law. There is no accountability, because sometimes justice is slow. Oftentimes justice is slow, and it can be uneven and sometimes ugly. But justice eventually arrives. I'm Dave Aronberg, State Attorney for Palm Beach County, aka the Florida Lawman. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.